A nice place to work will transform what you produce. I've always enjoyed nice design and colors and pictures. Not enough people care about their environment.
That's the rhythm with any big goal, is there's a tremendous amount of pressure that demands that you are patient and that you put in time. Now you're going to expand, and then it's going to build again.
Now we're able to start scaling and expanding and starting to accomplish those goals that we've been envisioning. It's an exciting time. So we spent the last couple months moving offices here from Boise into Meridian. Nice new studio we've been building out.
Mm-hmm. How important is environment?
I think not enough people care about their environment.
It's why we both moved at different times before we even knew each other.
Yep.
It was a huge reason as to why we needed to change, and we found this area. We love it. That, on a micro level, is also why now we're in this office.
Yep.
The last office we were grateful for,
Yeah.
and then we upgraded.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It's great. A lot more space. Studio has more space. Team has more space. Much bigger conference room. We have windows, mountain views. It's beautiful. Yeah. The feeling you get going into work every day when you have a nice place to work will transform what you produce.
Absolutely.
I've always put a focus on quality, making sure people enjoy what they're working on, making sure they have all the tools they could want to do their job well. Because walking into a workplace where it's like, this is where you sit, here's your computer, this is what you're going to do, here's your tasks, like you have this just routine you have to follow, you're kind of put in a box. I think some of those typical work environment things that a lot of companies have are what hold people back from growth, from innovation, from creating that culture that inspires and lets people think and start stepping outside of what the normal box is. Mm-hmm. And that goes all the way from your workspace, your desk space, to what you're working on, to what you're working in,
Yeah,
to the feel of the space. That's maybe the mindset behind why we made some changes. And again, I mean, we're a small business, so even for us, it's not like you can always just pick and choose what size space you get and, you know, what all you build into it. Like, for some companies, that needs to be a growing process, but I think it starts with realizing it's something you want to do in the first place.
Where do you think that awareness started for you, the importance of your environment?
I don't know. Probably just working through different offices over the years, working in different, before starting my own company, working in a couple different small businesses in a survey office, seeing kind of typical office setup that just, it didn't feel nice to walk into every day. Mm-hmm. And then seeing bigger companies and starting to go to larger corporate offices, and you see that some of those large companies have realized that, that's why big companies today have entire teams that are focused on culture and environment and, interior design. And like it's I think it just comes from seeing and experiencing both.
Yeah.
And then starting to realize what my preferences were for myself to work in. I've always enjoyed nice design, and I've always enjoyed colors and pictures. There's things that I've enjoyed that I'm like, I kind of want that in the space. I want it to feel like a place I enjoy being in.
Yeah.
But one of the challenges that could come in with companies is as you grow, so many different people have different preferences.
Yeah.
So what you might enjoy for a workspace is not necessarily what your team might enjoy for a workspace.
What suggestion would you give a smaller company? Like what is the first step that they could do to change their environment so that it would improve culture?
If we're going all the way to startup, you're likely in home offices at that point. There, I would say meet up in other places.
Yeah.
Get out of the office. Obviously, you can do things to your own home office.
Mm-hmm.
When I went through that transition of home office to getting our first office space and had 2 or 3 employees, that was stepping stones of what do we put in an office? What do we bring in? And at that point, it started being just the little things that were preferences of let's get a mini fridge and keep drinks in the office. Let's get a coffee maker. When you're super small and you've never had your own office, even just little things like that, just starting to bring some of that in. Then I think it's when you're that small, it's a group discussion. You're not yet worried about how 100 people feel coming into a massive building. It's what are the 1 or 2 little things that each person might like that would be easy to change?
No, I think that's a very good note. And that's something that I've always appreciated about you is the excitement for that next step or that next little thing. Hey, we have this, and the focus on what we can do right now to improve things.
Yeah. What other changes have we been working on? So we started RCN about 4 years ago, and it was a very organic, slow growth as the podcast, and that growth into where we are today of focusing on a whole community-driven idea of how can we impact the whole industry by bringing together professionals. Started as a really small effort, just a couple of us filming content, coming up, brainstorming some ideas. And in the last 6 months, we've over doubled our team, starting to really build some of the foundation of what we've been talking about for the past 3 years. As the ideas have grown for what we think we can do with RCN and how we think we can impact the industry through expanding different events, through building the committees and starting to pursue standardization and training opportunities. And now we're able to start scaling and expanding and accomplish some of those goals that we've been envisioning. So it's an exciting time.
It seems like that's the rhythm with any big goal. Is there's a tremendous amount of pressure. You kind of want it now, but it demands that you are patient and that you put in time and really think it through. And then there's this explosion of all right, now you're going to expand. Now you're getting everything that you asked for. And sometimes it's overwhelming because, oh, wow, now it's all at once. And then we have to, acclimate.
Yep.
And then it's going to build again.
Too many people are afraid of stepping forward with an idea because they want to wait until it's perfect. You have to just take steps in everything, in anything and everything.
Yeah.
Too many people do not want to launch a project, launch an idea, try something because they're afraid that it won't be good enough the first time. I think looking back over what we've started, a lot of people look at what we've built so far and are impressed by it, by the conference growth and some of the things we're doing with the media. I feel like we barely started, but it's because over 4 years we keep moving the goal line. We start out with we want to figure out how to film an episode. Okay, well, we accomplished that. We want to figure out how to make our podcast trailers better. Okay, we've moved the goalpost. What's next? We want to figure out how to improve the conference from last year and make sure the content is better and the quality is better. Okay, too many people look at this whole grand idea of like, you want to try to accomplish this global thing. That's way too much. Like, you're ridiculous. But if you look at that as your vision of a long-term vision, but you don't look at that, that isn't your goalpost. Your goalpost for accomplishing projects have to be like 6 months out. The entire last 8 years since starting in business and entrepreneurship, anytime I get asked, like, what's your 3-year goal or what's your 5-year goal? I literally am like, I have no idea. I don't have one. Like, I really establish 12 months at a time.
Yeah.
Like, because I've seen when you're pushing hard and you're moving fast and you're implementing and you're iterating and for me to spend a lot of time right now worrying about what 3 years looks like, to me feels silly because I know how much we iterate and change over time. So like, I think you have to set smaller goals and focus on like literally monthly and quarterly and maybe up to a year. The stuff that's 2, 3, 4, 5, like longer term plans, I wouldn't spend a lot of time on that. Just progress, not perfection. As soon as you realize that and work through that process, you see the progress start.
Yeah. So just stay at the thing that you know in your heart you're supposed to do.
Yep.
Continue down that path, and you will get bored, and then you're going to search for the next thing that improves upon what you're already doing.
Yep. Constant innovation. A lot of people use innovation more as just like a big business term of, oh, we have to transform a process. But innovation is just constant learning and improvement. It can be as simple as that. Like, just how can I make a process 1% better, right? Yeah. It's also why, like, when I talk with people about innovation, I try to push that idea of like, innovation is not just important to a company. It is important for you, the individual. Just talked on one of our podcast episodes yesterday, recording about that same idea. And it's like, the people who are afraid of innovation are just as at risk of not growing in their career as the company that would go out of business. You know, we always talk about the Blockbuster example, right? Of a whole company going out of business because they didn't innovate and they got caught up, you know, as streaming was transforming and they were focused on brick and mortar, that whole story. The same thing can and will happen to individuals in the industries we're focused on if they don't pay attention to the trends and the changes of technology. And, you know, again, if you're a professional with a tape measure, and the more growth that scanners start taking over people needing to go out and measure buildings with a tape measure, but you're not willing to get into the laser scanners, your skill set is not going to be relevant down the road.
Right.
And so you won't have a job. You know, what are you going to transition into? You have to be willing to innovate and change as technologies and as industries change. The individuals need to focus on that. The ones who pay attention to that early, and instead of waiting for the industry to demand that you learn a laser scanner and you put your tape measure away, which again, I know tape measures will stay around forever. But in general, if you're the person who is staying curious, looking out at what's around, identifying some of those potential changes, pursuing those, being curious and learning, and if you're in the earlier stages as opposed to being hesitant to technologies, that is where you can have a massive transformation because a professional becomes way more valuable to wherever you're employed if you're the type of person that's proactive, saying, here's that thing we might want to use. Here's something that's helping, do our job faster. So you're innovating for yourself, and being someone who brings some of that idea into a company can give someone a huge growth in their career, as opposed to the opposite, where people are kind of afraid of it, or they want to remain the expert in the thing they've been practicing for so long, instead of being willing to, bring the tool in and use it within their process. Too many people are afraid that if it's not like everyone else, then it's not going to be good. I mean, a very minor example for something we're doing would be our conference. We do stuff at our conference that almost no other conference in our industry does. Like, the typical conference in our industry is a massive event with a big vendor hall and all these vendors, and then all these breakout classes and all these individual sessions, and all, they do a couple little networking things, but then they close off and everybody's lost trying to network. We made some shifts that it's not typical in our industry, where we're extracting some of our favorite parts of different conferences, some that are outside of our industry, some that are in our industry, and we're kind of building this new event for our industry, where it's like we're bringing the TEDx approach of a single stage with highly curated content. That's not common in our industry. But we really like how that feel is. Like, look, everybody's going to just sit in a theater. We're going to cultivate the best presentations we can. You don't have to pick and choose classes, and we're going to do that. And then we're going to put more money into our happy hours and our networking events in the evenings. We're not going to just say, oh, everybody, dinner time, go off on your own in the city. We're not, supporting anything else. Go hope you find your friends and meet new people. We're like, no, this is a big miss that a lot of conferences in our industry, they don't hit well. Like, most people that go to conferences, there are people that want to go learn and they're there for the content. I promise 90% of the people going are going because they want to network, they want to meet people, they want to build relationships, they want to find clients, they want to find a job, it's about the people. The best opportunity for the people is the events where they get to hang out and spend time together and have fun and talk, and most conferences don't do that.
Yeah.
They shut it down, they do all the classes, and then that's it. We're like, that's a big miss. That's a big opportunity right there. So when our event gets done to dinner time, we open up and do special events the whole evening for networking on our Blue Field or doing our casino nights, or no other conference in our industry has that type of format. But to us, that's where the opportunity is. It's like, well, that's great. We want to build something unique. It's going to be different. People will like it for what it is. It might not hit for everybody because some people are used to, oh, there's no breakout classes, but being unique, being different, putting what you see and envision into it can be what makes it the best.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like everybody else.
No. And I think it's a good point to have those types of questions circling around an event. How can we make it special? How can we make it something that people will feel more comfortable being who they are? Because really, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, we're all working and we're talking about all these things that are very important professionally, but you want to work with people that you enjoy working with, right? And that's everyone. And so how are you going to meet those people? How are you going to know and trust them if you don't really get to know who they are? And if it is just like this veneer of, all right, this is what I do and this is who I am. It's like, well, there's more to every single human being than that.
Yep.
And so if we have events that bring that out of people,
Yeah.
then they will get to know each other faster.
People always say business is done on the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that's there is because you're not sitting at a desk on a meeting negotiating. No, like it's a change of scenery. It's a change of environment. It's something fun. Even though business is done on the golf course, it's because it's a relaxed environment where you're going to just converse with people.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sitting down at a desk and paperwork. You're given that opportunity to kind of take that hat off and just be personable and have conversation. That is exactly why we design our conference the way that we do. Having those extended evenings where there is fun activities, but who are you doing the activities with?
Right.
It's with all the professionals. Everybody at a business conference is talking about business, even in the fun. You're standing out having a drink, you're throwing a football, you're doing casino night, you're doing whatever it is.
Right.
Whoever you're standing next to, it's like, what do you do? How do you? That is the biggest opportunity for most conferences to improve, is adding more of that in, because then your attendees get more value. And that's the whole point of an event, is not what we get out of it. It is, what do the attendees get out of it?
Yeah.
That's like business 101. Your client, your customer is the most important person. How do you give them the most value possible?
Yeah.
By accident, that will return in the conference being great.
Yeah.
It will turn around and people will refer. The conference itself will grow, but it's because you're truly providing as much value as you can to the people and the community.
And that's also something that I love about our team, is that so many people that have come in are passionate, whether they are aware of it or not. I see the through line where I'm like, oh, we're all passionate about being great hosts.
Yep.
We want people to have a great time, and it's a thrill to be at the event and then actually see, we're like, oh, it's working.
Yeah.
Like, look, and you see people and the energy, and you're like, all right, we're moving in the right direction. This is good. We're good at this.
It's why I have such a passion for RCN, is because the impact that it's making for the whole community. Like, if we weren't getting the feedback of, thank you so much for these episodes, it's like helping me learn, or thank you for the education center, or the conference is the best conference I've ever been to. Like, getting that feedback is the driver for us growing. Because there is a need for education, for understanding of the technologies, for meeting people in the industry, for collaboration, those are real needs in the industry. And so designing the things that we're doing around fulfilling some of that and helping people, it's truly an honor.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's cool to get to a point in life where you realize, like, what we are doing together is special, and it's a lot of fun. It's a tremendous amount of effort, and I don't really look at it like work, because when you can go back to something over and over and over again and put in the hours that we put in, but you're getting fulfilled the entire time, it feels like play.
You can find fulfillment. You can find a way to enjoy your work, whether it's work you're already in or making a shift. Identifying a different industry, a different role within your company, even if it's not a complete change. But the power that comes out of you enjoying work is ridiculous.
And it's felt. There's no faking it, and it is felt in the environment and with who you're talking with.
Yep. Well, it's been fun. I like where we're at. The new studio is coming together well. Thanks for the help putting it together, Phil.
Yeah,
this has been
absolutely.
Good. Goal is to stay super consistent with weekly podcasts. We're really loving in studio, because the quality of content that comes out when people are in, it makes me just never want to do virtual. You have to, but I love
know.
sitting in the room and sitting and talking. And it's a very different experience for me, for the guest. The sitting and talking, it's so different than logging on a Zoom meeting for an hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
The conversation is different. The feel is different. The quality of the content is different.
It's just nice having the people come in and, again, getting that extra opportunity to be a host, to to do what we do.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, glad this test of the first in-studio recording is working. We're looking forward to some new episodes ahead. All right. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Matt.